This is a color meter, and I'm sure if you're watching the video, you already know what it is. I'm going to go over why you should have one and why maybe you won't need it. So this is the Sekonic C-800. This is the model I have. It is about $1,600 when I bought it about 3-4 years ago. So it might have gone up by now. It's probably like $700 or $1,800. There's another model. That's the 800. I think it's either the 800 or the 8000U C800, C8000. It's got a little more features, but it's pretty similar to this one. Now, it's a pretty basic unit. There's only 3 buttons on this thing. You got the on button, you got a memory button, and then you got the measure button on the other side. And there's a quarter 20 thread on the back, and the head swivels, so you can take readings looking at the monitor. Turn on, all you gotta do is hit the on button, you hold it for a second. Comes right on. Oh, batteries are dead. Why would you need one of these? Well, one of the best ways is if you're doing a lot of lighting, you can correct them and match them together pretty easily. Now at the steep price point that it's at, it's more for the professional market, and if you're just doing basic tungsten or LED stuff, maybe you don't need this and you can use an app on your phone or something. It might not be as accurate, but it could still get the job done. Second reason is this can really up your skin tone exposure, your skin color exposure, creating a better look on somebody if you're using a certain light that you didn't know about. Let's say you use an older style LED light and you try to light some kind of person or food, you might get weird colors on the faces because the LED diodes are not quite there. But if you use maybe a newer LED, you could see that with this unit. If you're using tungsten or something that's a full spectrum source, then you don't have to worry about that. But if you're using something that's a little cheap or off, you could see that using this unit very easily and see how basically tells you if a light is shit or not, which really comes in handy once you have it. A couple reasons why you might not need it. The price point, obviously, it's a little high. Maybe you're not using any of the new LED lights or a lot of lights at once, and you can just do it on your phone, or you're using tungsten or something that's actually a good quality light. And the other reason is you might not have time to use it. Sometimes it's like run and gun. You don't have time to go around and measure the lights. They just tell you set up the lights and then boom, you gotta go and you don't have time. Some sets are like that. Sometimes you have the time, sometimes you just gotta go and work with it. So on the unit itself, you got 3 modes. There's the kind of flash mode where you can measure flashlights. Not flashlights, but lights for like photography. You would set it to that and then it picks up the flash better. And then there's continuous mode, which is in the middle for measuring regular continuous lights. And you have your calibration for dark calibration on the bottom. It does swivel, like I said, which is really handy for pointing it at a light and still being able to see the screen at the same time, which most of them have now. There's a variety of options here. You've got the text mode, which tells basic functions, and I'll go through that. There's a back button on the bottom. There's spectrum mode. You got spectrum comparison, CRI comparison, TM30, which is a newer way to measure saturation and quality, SSI, which is even better than CRI, and then TLCI, TLMF, which is on the same level as SSI, which just measures the viewpoint differently from the camera or from the person. There's filter mode where you can go in and if you want to match something, it'll tell you exactly what filter to put on to match it. And then you've got multi-light mode where you can compare 4 lights at once and it'll tell you how to match all of them at the same time using different filters or different ways. White balance correction, and then you got settings. And you can also save memory in here, so if you wanted to go to a street light, a sodium vapor per se, and measure it and store it in here for later for a tech scout or something, you could do that and then go back later when you get home, see all of the different variables and how you can match that to a subject or anything you would need. So I happen to have a sodium vapor profile saved in here, and as you can see, it is very yellow in the yellow range of the spectrum. Okay, now I've recalled a 1200 HMI light that I have, As you can see, the spectrum is a lot different, more full spectrum, not as quite as good as a tungsten unit would be, but it would tell you there how you can get a brief glimpse of the spectrum. It also would give you the CCT, color temperature, your delta UV for green magenta, and your RA value, which is your CRI average mode. So now I'm in the CRI mode, and you can get an idea of your individual levels, all of your R15s, all the way up to R15. And this is really handy for checking skin tones and very important colors in the spectrum. For instance, your R9, you can see your R9. You can see your R12 and your R13, and then sometimes your R15 as well are the more important ones you want to keep a look at. So this can track all of them, and you can save it as well. And there is the CRI comparison mode, so you can plug in two lights and see it side by side at the same time, which is really cool. Now there's also TM30 mode, which will show you more of your spots on the spectrum where they're oversaturated or undersaturated based on the circle there. This can give you a good idea of if you have a light that has certain areas where it's more saturated than others, which is very handy as well. Going back, we also have SSI mode. Now in SSI mode, you have to compare it to something, and there are basic standard light sources in here, black body sources that you can choose from, including the SIE D55. You got your tungsten, and then a variety of others that are can be used to compare the source. So you come in and then compare. You pick a source here. I would memory recall, and then I'll pick the I'll pick a fluorescent source that I got from a gym, and now you can see that it is quite different, and I'm getting an SSI of 32, which is very low, not very good at all, compared to a tungsten black body source. And you can still see your CCT on there as well as your delta UV, and comparing that to your standard source there. So now there's TLCI and TLMF as well, so it's just a different way to measure. CRI is like looking through the camera, comparing the color, viewing it from the camera perspective. SSI and TLCI, TLMF are an actual eye viewing it, I believe. They might be flip-flopped or so. It's a much better way to actually meter it because it's a lot more accurate. CRI is now kind of not as good as SSI and TLCI, TLMF. Then you also have your filter function. Comes in here. You can see I have a source that is about 5300 Kelvin, and I put in here a target. I want to get it to 5600. So it's telling me to put a 8th CTB gel on there, Li 218. And then it's also got a little bit of magenta in it. It doesn't say it on here, but it's recommending to put an 8th plus green on there. Or my CCI would have a value there, but I think it's so minimal that it's on the edge. Also tells you the brand as well. It has can change the brand to Roscoe Cinegel or Roscoe E-Color. I like to keep it on Li because I'm a Li guy. Then you can go into multiple lights mode. You can pick 4 lights. You would plug them in here just by clicking the number. Then you meter it from here. Then you close it, and it will hold it there. So you can go up to 4. So I just went around and just grabbed 4 random sources here, and you can see they're different ranges of Kelvin. Let's say I want to go in and match it to this 5600 light, or 5400. I would click on this little button here. Then I can click on the different ones, the other ones. I go in, and it's going to tell me to match it. It's brought it up here automatically, 5363 Kelvin. To match to that, I need to add a half CTB, an 8th plus green on the Li filters to match it. So that light was 3800 Kelvin, 3900. that's what it would be. And then I can go through the other ones and do the same thing. This is a 1.5 CTB, which is a little odd. And then an 1/8 and a 1/4 plus green on that one because it has a lot of magenta apparently. So that's that menu. Very handy. There's white balance correction. So you can do the same thing, but it's kind of easier to do it in the main menu. It's there. I don't use it much often. And then your settings, where you can change your camera filter brand, your lighting filter brand, white balance, unit of luminance, and all this, what kind of color space you want to work in, all through there. And there's more. There's also more as well. The main menu, which is the text menu, which is what I usually work in, is a single meter option. So you would meter, it would bring up, I already have one here, 2500. You can change the target right from here to, let's say I want to match to 8000 Kelvin, something ridiculous. And it'll come up with the filters and your delta UV, and then how much magenta as well. So I need a double CTB, quarter CTB, and you can come in and change these parameters. There's a lot of parameters you can add. You can have your lux, your foot candles, your CRI, SSI. You can have a lot of different of them in here. You can only have 5 at a time, which is kind of not the greatest, but you're able to change them and customize this how you want. Up here, it'll tell you how many memory banks you have. I got 32 stored. I believe you can have up to 99 stored memory profiles in here for lights. All right, I just wanted to do a short form overview for you guys so you could see the basics of the unit itself. I'm going to do a longer form video. If you guys want to see anything in particular, I'm going to go through in depth each channel and how to read it and how to measure and how to compare a little bit more in depth.